We start? Dear Mr. President, Your Excellencies, dear colleagues, students, friends, on behalf of the academic community of Tarasa Shevchenka National University of Kyiv, I have the great honor and pleasure to welcome Mr. President of the Republic of Finland to our university. The Republic of Finland systematically supports and provides material, financial, humanitarian, and military support to Ukraine in our struggle against the aggressor state of Russia. Special thanks to Mr. President for his outstanding personal contribution to the strengthening of Ukrainian-Finnish cooperation, support of the independence and territorial integrity of Ukraine. Thank you, Your Excellency, for being with us here in Kyiv in this difficult time, especially now when Ukraine is under regular mass martial attacks by the terrorist state. Since February 24, 2022, the university has been operating continuously and the academic process was suspended only in March 2022, only so that students and teachers could find a safe place to continue studying and teaching. The second semester of the current academic year started yesterday. Your presence with us today, Your Excellency, is the best testimony that despite the war and destruction, Ukraine has allies and partners, and the university has friends whose support we feel every day. Ladies and gentlemen, I am extremely pleased that today the leader of the country, which at one time showed the world an example of the struggle for independence and independent foreign policy, will speak before the students and teachers of the university. Finland made its geopolitical choice a long time ago. Ukraine is doing it now, and it's struggling for its right to its own destiny in the family of European nations. Thank you, Mr. President, for your visit to us. This is a great honor for our academic community and the best evidence that Ukraine and the university are on the right track. Together we are strong, together we are invincible. Glory to Ukraine, glory to heroes. Thank you very much. I am a great honor to invite Mr. President for speech to our academic community.
My dear friends, I want to start by telling you about my first visit to Ukraine and Kyiv. That took place, well, sometimes ago, 17 years ago. You were maybe born, but I was working in European Investment Bank, and I had in my responsibility the first to make an agreement with Ukraine about cooperation, and then to lead the European Investment Bank program in Ukraine. The idea was very clear. It was to help Ukraine build up infrastructure, schools, whatever. Now things are a bit different. I have visited a couple of times during your present president. It is always, in a way, inspiring to see the spirit he represents. Today I also visited, for instance, Bucha. I met a father and a son Father was vegetarian and son a student. But now they both were soldiers, standing side by side, father and son. I think that told us a lot. That was a very living example of how Ukrainian society, how Ukrainian people have showed that they are decisive, they are brave, and they are capable of defending their country. That is very impressive. Surely, the visit also showed the cruelty of invaders and the huge sufferings of Ukrainian people. When I met today your president and we had a discussion, surely it concentrated quite a lot to present situation, how the European countries can help Ukraine by giving military aid, but also your president defined a plan how at least try to get step by step to peace. And that is very important. A peace which surely has to be just for Ukraine. That is, Ukraine itself decides what kind of peace it can accept. But in addition to that, we need also the big ones to agree, try to agree that whatever peace is settled, that it is also permanent and one can rely on that. So this is a wider question for Europe and also globally later on. Hope that we face the day of peace as soon as possible. For me, I'm expecting the next visit to Ukraine also in the name of reconstruction, which surely we all are prepared to take part. I don't go very deeply on Finnish history, but I just want to tell you that during the last war, World War II, Finland was maybe one of the poorest countries in Europe. We were fighting very bravely also. And after that, while reconstructing our country, it so happened that people felt more than maybe earlier being together, building up their home country, their society. And while respecting education, which is a key word, while respecting teachers, like you do, I'm sure, suddenly, in a couple of decades, Finland was considered as one of the most advanced countries in Europe. So, what I want to tell you, there's a future, there's a good future with the spirit that you show today. When it continues, you will build up one of the best societies in Europe. I'm sure about that. Thank you.
Dear friends, dear colleagues, we have an opportunity to start answer and question session. Please.
Mr. President, I am Lieutenant Volodymyr Stejskal. Personally, me and all Ukrainians are very grateful for your support. Recently, you've announced the biggest military aid package to our country. It's a great contribution to our victory. So, after our victory, my question is, after our victory, on your personal opinion, how to make Russia to forget about even thoughts, even desire to invade other countries, to invade in Ukraine, for example? Because, as we all understood, it's very dangerous to trust Russians. So it's like a motto, never trust Russians. So thank you very much.
Yes, I referred already to the fact that when the war in Ukraine is over, and I hope it will take place very soon, we need more understanding how to maintain peace in Europe and even worldwide. And that means, and I understand that this is something your president is after also, that the major players worldwide can agree about how to guarantee security, not only in Europe, but I'm sure if they sit at the same table, and I mean China, India, USA, that would hopefully be the start of a peaceful order in worldwide. But like I said, we have to have very strong forces for the peace if we want that to be reliable and permanent. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. President. My name is Katerina Skibun. I'm a law student of law school, Tarasa Шевченка National University. But before I start asking you, I have one souvenir for you. It's modern reality of Ukraine souvenir. It's fragment of missile. It's fragment of Russian missile that hit this university and killed a graduate of our university 3 months ago. There are many such fragments there in the 10 of thousands. There are destroyed houses, killed and still killing Ukrainian civil people in Bucha, Irpin, Bakhmut, Soledar, Mariupol, Izum, Dnipro, Kyiv, Kherson, and other settlements. I give it to you and ask you to show it to foreign diplomats who are blocked the supply of weapons for Ukraine, blocked sanction against Russia, or just tired of the war. Ukrainians aren't tired of this war. We are fighting for exactly 11 months for our freedom, for our European future, and also we're fighting for such fragment doesn't kill Europeans. And 1 second, I give it to you.
Thank you.
And my question is, what else can the European Union do to bring the Ukrainian victory closer? Thank you.
Thank you so very much. This is very touching, and the message is very clear. I will keep it as a memory, and I will use it as an example like you wanted, to make it more real to other people also, what really is taking place and what has happened here in Ukraine. It is somehow unbelievable and something almost impossible to imagine. And it is very clear that our feelings are with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, Your Excellency. First of all, we are very thankful for strong support of our country that we feel and really appreciate. I am Konstantin Mezentsev, professor of human geography, and in 2015 I had a lecture in the University of Helsinki on urban development in Ukraine, and we discussed destruction of cities in eastern part of Ukraine and the way how to reconstruct, how to renovate the cities. Now, urbicide, killing the city, has spread to all cities in Ukraine. And just now we discuss how to reconstruct, renovate, and make the city livable, comfortable for life, for people. And Finland has a great experience in this context. And my question is following. What do you think? Is it possible to combine Finnish standards of life in cities with Ukrainian soul of our cities, with Ukraine, to preserve Ukrainian identity? And another question is, if your country, and I'm sure that it will be, decide to support reconstruction of our cities, which city you personally will select, will choose to reconstruct from Finnish side? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Yes, I'm not quite sure whether you need, again, 3 brothers to establish not only Kyiv, but the country. But nevertheless, you have brothers and sisters all over Europe. Keep that in mind. The reconstruction which took place in Finland, I already described that there was a strong spirit of belonging together after you had, or one had had very, very severe experiences together. So keeping together is a key word for that. And sometimes it happens that after very tough experiences, when they end, the world opens in a new way, and people find huge powers from themselves to rebuild their life and life for their families. So, like I said, I would like to see that my next visit here will be in the spirit of my first visit, which was reconstructing and developing Ukrainian society. And I look forward to that, and I hope it's very much in nearby future.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sofia Patyurkivska, and I'm a student of educational program Economics and Economic Policy of Tarasa Shevchenka National University of Kyiv. Dear Mr. President of Finland, first of all, I want to thank you and your country for providing the military aid packages, financial and humanitarian aid for Ukraine. During the Russian invasion, severe damages has been caused to people, infrastructure, and the environment in Ukraine. For Ukraine, investments will be the basis of its recovery. It will help to restore business activity, also increase the productivity of Ukrainian enterprises, and achieve the economic growth of Ukraine. So my question is, which sectors of Ukraine's economy will be prospective and attractive for investors from Finland after the war, in your opinion? Thank you.
I know that Finnish industries and businesses were interested in Ukraine already a long time ago, not maybe that visibly, but nevertheless they have been here, so they know the place. On the other hand, we have received now 50,000 Ukrainians to Finland, and they come very familiar to Finns. And all these contacts, they will surely enhance also the knowledge of possibilities to invest in Ukraine. And if you have friends present, you can do it more easily, and you can, like you have to when you invest, have a strong belief in what you and your friends are doing. So I have a feeling that after the war, when the war ends, there will be a lot of interest worldwide to be involved in reconstruction of Ukraine and making Ukraine a flourishing economy and society.
One question from right.
My name is Eduard Kuzmenko. I'm a student of educational program American and European Studies, Faculty of History. First of all, I would also like to thank you for all your support, for providing aid to the Ukrainian people. And my question is concerned with the past. So we know that in 1919 to 1921, there was one ambitious project, the Baltic Black Sea Union, where Finland and Ukraine were coherent and were in one union. And what's your vision, what's your opinion on the future of the regional and international order after this war, when Ukraine will win, of course? Thank you.
You know, a couple of years ago I was attending the United Nations Assembly in New York, and I was listening to different speakers. And amazingly, I found out that two speakers specifically underlined the importance of multilateral cooperation. They were China and Russia. They were underlying multilateral cooperation as they want to see it taking place. So it's a complex question. World is a bit, or quite a lot, divided, not only because of the war here, but also otherwise. Economically, there's a huge competition between China and USA. Somehow, I don't so much see value in dividing the world into a democratic or autocratic world, but trying more to find at least a basement of common thinking. And that's why UN was founded after Second World War. What we see now is enlarging European Union. That's core cooperation for Europeans, and I know that you here are striving also to become a member of that. But that is not enough. Why I took up the discussion I had with your president about future large peace conference, peace after peace here, but a large peace conference. And I fully support that kind of thinking, because we should get the big ones at the same table and find not maybe so much in common and not anything full co-understanding, but at least to agree of some basic elements. And that kind of discussions we haven't had for a long time. So I think that there is a possibility. They talk about new world order. I do not believe to a worldwide order. We are different. And maybe we have to accept that to a certain extent we are different, but in spite of that, being capable of getting along with each other. Something like this. And I really have to say that I was delighted about your president's thinking in this.
Thank you. One question from center, one question from left side, and final.
Mr. President, thank you very much for visiting us today here in Kiev. You know, it's a great honor for all of us to ask you a question. And first of all, I would like to say thank you very much for support of the Ukrainian people and armed forces of Ukraine. So my name is Yegor Cherkun. I'm a student at Institute of International Relations. And originally, I'm from Mykolaiv. It's south of Ukraine. So my question is that, following your interview to Al Jazeera, you said that in pocket terms, you said that Putin went all in when he started the war in Ukraine. And geographical fact that Finland shares a border with Russia that is more than 1,300 kilometers long. And Ukraine shares a border with Russia is more than 2,000 kilometers long. And all we know is that Finland earlier was a neutralical country for many decades, but following Russian invasion of Ukraine, you put its neutrality aside and officially requested to join the West major military alliance. So, Mr. President, what do you think? Will Ukraine join the NATO after the war and after our victory to provide the war and to provide the Russian aggression in the Eastern Europe? And another question, what are the attitudes of NATO allied members regarding to Ukraine's entry into the alliance? Thank you.
Thank you. And first of all, it's an honor for me to have a possibility of discussing with you. Will Ukraine be a member of NATO? You know, we are applying membership, but we are not member, at least not yet. So it's very difficult for me to give an answer in behalf of NATO. But surely, I know and I guess that there's a lot of willingness in Ukraine to apply membership. And we all know that NATO has open doors for those who meet the criteria. At least it should have open doors. And that's what we believed. But sometimes it may be a bit complicated, like now. And your second question was?
About the attitudes of NATO-allied members.
Oh, yes, yes. I will describe you a bit about our thinking, and I think it's quite similar. Unlike very many other European countries, Finland never forgot history, even though we had quite good relations with Russia, no problems. So we still had and still have conscription, which means that we have a trained reserve, constantly trained reserve. So I have often told people that if we call our trained reserves, we have more men and women in arms than Germany if they call their trained reserves. And Germany is, 15 times bigger than us. So this describes to you maybe what we have been thinking, and we have kept also our armament in good shape. In spite of that, actually when Russia and President Putin more than a year ago, in December 20, announced that they demand that NATO can't enlarge anymore. That hit, in a way, Finland and Sweden, because we had always said that we are unaligned of our own will. But then, when Russia said that NATO can't take any more new members, it closed, in a way, the door, or tried to close the door, and our geopolitical position changed. That made us think that we have to do something else. And when Russia made this huge attack against Ukraine, it was very clear that Finns decided to apply for NATO. And the main reason, I would say, is that we see that the overall shelter of NATO will be, in a way, fence in thinking that nobody don't even try to come. We don't expect that if something would happen, the main responsibility of protecting Finland and defending Finland is for us. But to make sure that nothing happens, that's NATO for. And that is our thinking.
The final question.
All right, good afternoon, Mr. President. I'm terribly sorry. My name is Yaroslav Smosh. I'm a student at the Institute of International Relations, just like my colleague over there. Now, my question would also be about a rather geopolitical matter. Mr. President, in light of recent circumstances, and your neighboring country, Sweden, which also applied for a NATO membership, having complicated and sometimes heated relationships with Turkey, also a member of NATO alliance, do you see Finland ever becoming a member of NATO, regardless of whether Sweden does? Thank you.
What, regardless of?
Regardless of whether Sweden becomes a member of NATO alliance.
I didn't get.
See, if Sweden does not, is not granted a permission to enter NATO alliance by Turkey, do you see Finland becoming a member of NATO alliance, regardless of whether Sweden is a member of NATO? Thank you.
This is a question which has come up every now and then. You have to keep in mind that Finland and Sweden decided almost together, same time, to apply for membership. And after that, NATO countries accepted 28 of them, us as a combination in a way. And many of them say now that, well, we intended to accept you both. What comes to the present situation, it seems that Turkey, which is delaying ratification, has a lot to criticize Sweden, not that much, if at all, Finland. I have to tell you that to me it was very clear that Erdogan wanted to criticize and wants to criticize also existing NATO countries. And in a way he saw a possibility by us to make a big number of his opinion. On substance itself, I have to say that from Finnish point of view, our common membership is not just that we are good friends and partners, but it's also partly, in my thinking at least, a question of positive substance to Finland that we have behind us in the West, Sweden also as a member of NATO. And now I believe that, actually our foreign minister has said that keep a look on the ball. And I have said that tennis is a good play, a nice play, but avoid to be the ball. So I combine this by saying that now we have our look at the ball, but not as a ball. And taking this very calmly. So I do not believe, or it's very difficult to believe that neither of us becomes a member before Turkish elections. But then things are different. And I'm sure that the pressure which comes from existing NATO members will be a lot harder after Turkish elections, because then one reason is off, and very difficult to see what kind of reasons would be left after that.
Thank you very much. Шановні друзі, ми мусимо за протоколом завершувати. Так? Mr. President, thank you so much for your visit to our university, to our students, teachers, to our community. And we have special present for you.
Oh.